Now, these are the 3 books that changed Nipsey Hussle's life and how it can change yours as well. What's going on, y'all? My name is Danny Wynn and welcome to Soul Real TV. And in today's video, I'll talk to you guys about the 3 different books that Nipsey Hussle read that changed his life and how it could change yours as well. Alright, now before I begin, I want to start by saying this, that man, Nipsey Hussle was somebody I truly admired. He was a successful entrepreneur, he was a successful rapper, he was a businessman, he was a husband, a father, a son, a brother. Something I really admire about Nipsey Hussle, man, is his mindset, his thought process, the way he moved, the way he did business, the way he carried himself, the way he was very self-educated. He pushed entrepreneurship, he pushed reading, he tried to get people around to read.
He liked to read, you know what I'm saying? He used to tell me, like, gang, you read that book? He was like, cuz, they got ebook. And I'm not like an avid reader. Like, he was always pushing that shit.
And bro always gave me advice. You feel me? This loped out crip. He gave me books to read and like that. I'm like, this different, man. You know what I'm saying?
He was all about ownership. He was about giving back to the community. He was about elevating those around him and pushing the consciousness forward. And that's something I really resonate with because I see that in myself. That's something I aspire to be. Like, I want to be able to push society forward. I want to be able to leave behind a legacy. I want to be able to make a positive impact on this world. Because when it's all said and done, and it's our time to go, what kind of legacy are we leaving behind? Are we leaving this world better or worse?
Now, you just spoke about reading, man, and that's something you don't hear a lot about in hip-hop and with rappers and with, to be honest, just people or black people, period.
Hip-hop generation. Most definitely.
Can you express to people how important it is to read? Because I personally think that if you read, even if you didn't finish college or this, that, and the third, if you read, you can educate yourself. Can you express that to the people out there?
I feel the same way, bro. I didn't really graduate high school. I left early when I was like 14, but I was always, had books around me. My mom always, kept books in the house, and it made it important that I was well versed. Yeah. So it's a habit I just kept as I grew older. Yeah. And I just read things I was interested in. I started off reading magazines. That's how I learned about hip hop culture outside of LA. Right. By reading like XXL and The Source, hearing about classic albums from other places and all that. Right. And then like anything I was interested in, I read the magazines about it. Right. And I just started getting into books. And just like you said, a lot of my best ideas, a lot of my business savvy, which I ain't the smartest dude, but I know what I know. Came from books. Like, I read books about the industry. I read books about the deals that was done in the industry. Right. And these dudes, held out and made certain decisions that empowered them for the rest of their career.
And it's a tragedy that his life ended the way it did. And I think that he was just getting started, man. He was so young. He was 32, 33 years old. I feel like he had so much more to do. If he was to live another 10, 15, 20 years, I feel like he would accomplish so much because I feel like he was just getting started. He has so much more to offer. He has so much more to bring to this world. But man, R.I.P. to Nipsey Hussle, man. Before I begin, I want to say that he's read a lot of books, and I chose these 3 books because these are actually books that I read as well, and they've impacted me in a positive way. Now, the first book I want to talk about is Power versus Force. Now, I actually discovered this book through Nipsey Hussle. Now, this is a screenshot taken directly from an article from Clash, and I think this is the same article that I saw from Nipsey Hussle on a video. And it says right here, if you had to choose one book that really changed your life, what would it be? And Nipsey Hussle says, the most powerful book I read in the last 10 years is a book called Power versus Force. There's a chapter called the Levels of Human Consciousness, and what the whole premise is that basically the power of frequency of your action is informed by the intention. And there's a chart of all these different intentions that you can have. If you create any action from an intention of shame or fear or pride, all these lower level frequencies, then there's no way it'll have any value. I started applying that and looking at where shame informed my decisions or motivated my thought and actions, or fear, regret, pride, or anger. I started trying to operate from a place of being neutral and above. Above neutrality is love or enlightenment. I just saw a complete 180 turn, a 180 degree turn in my experience, and it was a powerful perspective. Reading that just gave me a completely different view, and even when I deal with people and we're having a disagreement, I question myself, like, Are you arguing this to be right, or are you really trying to reveal the truth here? Anybody that I meet and we start having a real conversation, I always tell them, man, go get that book, Power versus Force. It's an incredible read. And this is a screenshot that I took from, I think it was GQ. And it says right here, a couple of days before he passed, he bought me 3 books, said London in the interview portion of the story. One book was about parenting. He loved Power versus Force. He swore on that book and got a lot of game from it. I mean, between he and I, we damn near had a library. So Power versus Force was actually one of the last gifts that he gave to his wife before he passed. Yeah, man, it was in his interview where he was like, mind you, Nipsey Hussle is an avid reader, and he said that out of the past 10 years, out of all the books he read, the one book that had the most influence on his life was Power versus Force. And as soon as I heard that, I ordered it ASAP. You know what? I'm glad I did, because it gave me a fresher perspective on life and how to look at different things, how everything's kind of connected. Now, one of the biggest things that I got from this book was being able to see that we all operate on different levels of consciousness. And if you look at this chart, it ranges from 0 all the way up to 1,000. And 1,000 being the highest. The only people that were able to achieve this level of consciousness were people like Buddha, Gandhi, Jesus Christ, those type of influential people. And it's very, very rare in mankind to achieve those levels. And on the lower states of consciousness, everything below 200 is coming from a place of force. You got pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt. Now, a lot of people that are living in rough neighborhoods, or people in the hood, people in third world countries, people that are really in environments where they're struggling, they're coming from a place more of force. They're in survival mode. So it's hard for them to try to contribute to society when they're worried about surviving. And as you start to elevate in your levels of consciousness, you start to come from a place of power, a place of courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, love, and joy. And being able to see this chart, a lot of things in life started to make more sense to me. And now when I try to operate from a place of power instead of force. Man, a lot of things just made more sense to me in life. Like religion. I'm not religious, but religion made more sense to me. Like I always knew that you should be grateful, how treat others the way you want to treat. I knew on the surface level, you should do that. But this book gave me a better understanding on why. Yeah, it's a really good book. I highly recommend this book to anybody, and I highly recommend you check this book out too. It gave me a different way to look at life. I look at things a little bit differently now. I come from more. I try when I make decisions now. So the title's called Power versus Force, right? I try to come from a place of power instead of force. Now the second book I want to talk about is The Way of the Superior Man. Right. So I actually read this book about 6-7 years ago, and I think that if you're a man, if you want to become more attractive, you want to become more charismatic, you want to be a man living on his life, living on his purpose, you want to live a more confident life, you want to step your game up, you're single, you want to step your game up, read this book. It gave me a better understanding on how the masculine and feminine energy works between the dynamic. And if you're a male and you want to get better at attracting females, read this book. Or if you're a male and you want to attract other males, read this book. or if you're a female and you want to understand more about how the attraction works between the male and female, then it's a good book to read. And Nipsey Hussle vouched for this book as well. And when I heard that he read this book, I was like, oh man, I read it again. I actually read it again. I read this like 5-6 years ago, but when I saw in an interview he was talking about it, man, I read it again. And
she recommended a book to me, but I can't remember the name of it. I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, what was it?
She said she recommended it to you too.
Oh yeah, this is a powerful book. It's called The Way of the Superior Man.
The Way of the Superior, there you go.
Yeah, she fucked me up with that book too. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's a book women should not give to their man unless they really secure in themselves. Because the message of that book is basically for powerful men, how to deal with your power. Because you got options. You get power and money and fame. You could go crazy. Right. So it just give you a unique perspective. You know what I'm saying, on the right way to do things. You know what I mean? Yeah. From the author perspective.
It's heavy though.
It's a good book. The author has a lot of good insights as far as like living a life of purpose, trying to find who you are, understanding the masculine and feminine energy, and just being more grounded, being more present, being more masculine. And I would say that from reading this book, it definitely stepped my game up just like a little bit. Like I ain't saying that I got a lot of game or anything, but what I'm saying is this: my game went from right here to like right here, like boom. It was like there was a difference after I read this book. There's a little bit of a difference. So I highly recommend this book to anybody, especially any male, any man that wants to become a superior man, a person that wants to live a life more of purpose, a person that wants to understand how the human attraction works, how to become more attracted to a female, how to live a life more of purpose. And yeah, man, you want to become more alpha? Check this book out. Now, the third book I want to talk about is Contagious. Now, I think this is a very good book, and I actually read this like once, but I feel like this is a book that I'm gonna keep coming back to again and again. I want to like actually study this book because for me, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and you know I'm in marketing. This is a good book for anybody that's an entrepreneur or in business or in marketing, and it gives you a lot of good insight on how to make things go viral. And Nipsey Hussle actually got his idea for one of his mixtapes. This, like when he read this book, he applied it.
Question: where did you get the idea of charging $100 per CD?
You needed a new chain.
Nah, not just that, man. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you know, I got a few mentors that just put me on books and literature and all that. Big Bob Francis, one of them. And so, you know, he told me about this book called Contagious.
Contagious,
Yeah, so I got to the second chapter of that, and it was just talking about how this restaurant owner in Philly started selling Philly cheesesteaks for $100 out of his restaurant. And it just was like, it set off all type of conversation. Everybody was talking about it. Then all type of influential people came through him and just wanted to check out why it was $100. Like Oprah came through and bought one. David Letterman bought one. He got all type of exposure and publicity, and then it became like a staple, and everybody started coming through supporting, buying a $100 cheesesteak. So I put the book down, and I was like, yeah, we about to do that with the album. Nobody did that with music.
It was another story in Contagious about this bar, and I think it's in New York City, and then it had like a little corner where it was like a little door, and it above the door it said, "Please don't tell." And you walk in the door and it's popping. You walk behind the door and it's just a party going on. It's drinks, it's females, it's popping. In the front look run down and beat up, but it's supposed to be a secret. It says, "Please don't tell" when you walk in. And because of that, it made it like a secret. It made it like some privileged info. So everybody that ended up walking through that door went and told everybody they know about this secret, like shady little club. And it became like one of the most popping spots in the city. And it was supposed to be a secret, like, you know, it's like you tell somebody, don't say nothing about this, and they're gonna go run and tell everybody they know about it. And the book was just about what makes things go viral. And one of the concepts Jonah was talking about was like social currency. Why people in a room full of people say certain things and they don't say other things. Because certain things have social currency, certain things have value, make you look cool, make you look like you in the loop, make you look like you know some shit. So that was an example of social currency. So that was a cool story too. I was thinking about, you know, cuffing that idea and running with that one too.
Oh, if you want to check this book out, go ahead and check it out. If you want to check all these books out, there's links in the description. If you want to check all these books out, I highly recommend all these books. If you want to check it out, I want to say R.I.P. to Nipsey Hussle, man. He was a legend. He was somebody that gave back to the community. He did so much for the world. I think that he was just getting started, man. It's crazy to see his life end like that, but we're not gonna forget his legacy. His legacy is gonna continue forever. And I think that with the video like this, you know, I'm kind of like, I'm pushing what I got from Nipsey Hussle, and I'm trying to give it back to the world as well. And the marathon continues, man. All right, y'all, so that was the 3 different books that changed Nipsey Hussle's life, how it's influenced mine. Hopefully it can impact yours as well. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Catch you on the next video. All right, I'm out. Peace.